In the UK, we are seeing the rise of reform. Their surge in the polls continues. In a first past the post system, they're right now well in front in a number of polls, ahead of Labor, comfortably ahead of the Tories. Is this the end of the two-party system in the UK? Can they maintain this momentum all the way to the election?
I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see, Rita. As you know, the electoral system in the UK is extremely cruel to third parties, insurgent parties, and so on. It's not like list systems like the Netherlands has, for instance, where there can constantly be parties that come up and take over and either rule well or otherwise and get chucked out or kept in power. It's just not like that in the UK. There's always been this expectation that the two-party system can't be broken. And I suppose people think back to the 1970s and 80s and the SDP and so on. But actually, of course, sometimes a party does die. And that was, of course, the case with the old Liberal Party more than a century ago. And the Labour Party, the Conservative Party. There's no law of nature that means they have to survive. The interesting thing for reform really will be whether or not they can demonstrate that it's not a one-man party, that it's not just Nigel Farage, and without him, there really isn't a party. Nigel Farage is an extremely brilliant campaigner, exceptionally brilliant campaigner, and an incredibly talented politician. But in order to get anywhere near actually looking like he's a figure that can head a government, he'd have to surround himself with many people of an equal or similar caliber. And he's just never been able to do that. And I'm afraid that the infighting that reform has already seen is a sort of a bad sign in that regard. Inevitably, a successful party has to be a kind of coalition, but also just has to have a lot of talent in it. Can Nigel Farage spend the next couple of years building that up? Perhaps. If he does, he's a serious threat to the Labour and Conservative two-party system. If he doesn't, I'm afraid it'll just be another of those strange electoral polling burps that happens usually midway through a very unsuccessful government like this one in the UK.
Now, you've been good enough to give some free advice to the Democrats tonight. If you could do the same for our Liberal Party, they're in crisis right now. They've had a landslide election loss, and they don't really seem to know, Douglas, who they are and what they stand for. There's a lot of advice that they should veer to the centre or left. But what would your advice be to a centre-right party that seems to be having a bit of an identity crisis right now in Australia?
Yeah, they are, aren't they? Of course, just like other centre-right parties around the world, they'll always get bad advice from people who wish them ill, and they'll take it. I'm afraid that's a routine
Every
thing
time.
with centre-right parties. Every time, there'll be people who would never vote for the Liberals who will say, "I think what you need to do is to come further to the left and nearer to me," and so on. No, I mean, for the party to be successful, like all centre-right parties, you have to show a set of things. You have to show a faith in the country, a love of the country, an understanding of people's need for belonging and aspiration, and much more. Particularly, by the way, that second one. I always say to politicians of the centre right that the left always has this very, very powerful tool, which it uses. My goodness, how it uses it, which is the tool of resentment. You've got to resent the rich man. You've got to resent these people, the powerful, so on. But centre right parties have a very, very useful thing which they should be able to play back at it, which is aspiration. That is to show a means by which people who work hard in Australia, follow the rules, will actually be rewarded for it. And we'll see if they can make that happen. I hope they do. It's one of the most successful parties electorally in the West, and it deserves to have a future. But we'll see. As I said earlier, there's no law of nature that means that these parties just survive. They have to justify it. I'm not sure the Liberal Party's done a great job of that.
Fantastic advice there, Douglas Murray. Thank you so much for your time.
It's a great pleasure.